Good morning, everybody. This is day number 40 of our Appalachian Trail through hike. Dad and I are still up in, near his home in Charlestown, West Virginia. We're hiking in Maryland today, which is our sixth state that we've hiked in, because we've hiked in Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, Virginia, and West Virginia. So this is state number 6. So we had a good day yesterday, did almost 15 miles. Today the goal is to do 12.2. My sister just graduated with her master's degree. I'm very proud of her. And it's, I think, in nurse management. Mercy, don't get mad at me. I don't remember what it's in, but it's a master's, and she's, my sister's about 13 or 14 years younger than me, about 13 and a half, I guess. And, she's smarter than me and got a piece of paper to prove it. I'm proud of her. So tonight we're going to take her out to dinner and just celebrate with her. But so Dad and I probably would have gone a little further today, but 12 and a 12.2 is a good day for us to be able to get back home and be able to go out to eat with them. Still a fuel shortage going on. There's still stations around here that are out of gas, although it seems to be getting better. So I think the plan is tomorrow to hike here one more day. We may try to knock out the rest of Maryland tomorrow, and then maybe go south on Sunday. And we'll have about 2 weeks to hike down there, and then I have to come back for my nephew's graduation. You know, some folks might say, well, why in the world do you keep getting on and off, coming north and south, north and south? My family. My family is the most important thing in my life. And to my dad, it's the most important thing in our lives. And these are real special occasions. My daughter Hannah's graduating Saturday with a degree in graphic design. My nephew Brant's graduating in 2 weeks from high school. So I know there are people that just check out of life, but that's just not my approach. You know, they say hike your own hike, so that's what I'm doing. And we're having a great time doing it. Today is a beautiful day. It's sunny. Birds are singing. I guess you can hear them. Behind me are the ruins of a home from, it says 1887, so I assume after the Civil War. But this was, I think, a site of a war correspondent's property during the Civil War. And it's called, there are two names for this, Gapland and Gathland. And the reason for that is the writer, the war correspondent, wrote under both of those pen names. And both of those were biblical terms. The one is from, and forgive me, I don't know the exact verses. I know the verses, but I don't know the exact location. But it's the one where the prophet said, the Lord spoke to the prophet and said, I sought for a man to make up the hedge or the gap, and there was none to do that. And so he wrote under that name Gap. And the other was where it said, do not publish it in Gath, but rather publish it in Ashkelon. Those are both Philistine cities. And so the prophet was speaking about those. And so being a war correspondent, he wanted to publish things, and he wanted to stand in the gap. So he also traveled overseas and reported on wars overseas. I don't remember his actual name. I'll try to find that and maybe put that in the notes here. But anyway, there's a group. The reason I know all that is there's a group here doing a tour, and the man leading the group, shared that. And I thought that was really interesting. And anybody that knows me knows I love Civil War history. I think that's in my opinion, one of the best times in American history. It was a horrible time, but just the history of it. So many wonderful stories. Maybe at the end of this day, I'll tell you one of my favorite stories from the Civil War, post-Civil War, that I absolutely love. About Sherman, General William Tecumseh Sherman, and General Joseph E. Johnston. I'll probably tell you that at the end of the day. So anyway, doing 12.2, beautiful day. I hope you're having a great day at home. Again, Dad and I are using a van. He's actually driving the 12.2 to the other end. He's hiking toward me. I'm hiking toward him. We switch keys, and then I pick him up. So we hang out a little bit and eat some lunch and that kind of stuff. So. And we're doing good. My knee's feeling a lot better. Thank you all for praying. I'm probably going to lose at least 2 toenails. Oh boy, I've never lost a toenail before. I'm going to lose 2. But anyway, that's part of hiking. So I've switched shoes from Hoka's to Ultras. They have a wider toe box, and I feel like I've done better with the Ultras. So anyway, so that's today. Sorry for the long intro. We'll try to show you some good pictures. Have a great day, everybody. All right, everybody, I have walked up to White Rocks Overlook with a man who lives in Middletown, Maryland, named John. Real nice guy. He does day hikes all the time. And 8 miles, which is a substantial hike, you know, in great shape. 72-year-old man and very, very nice gentleman. So, but as we were standing here, I looked down. I don't know if y'all can see that or not, but that says R.L. Rudy, and I believe it says 1890. This is a real huge Civil War area, and he had never noticed that on that rock. I just showed it to him. But I want to show you the look here, the overlook here. Now, how about that? Beautiful, beautiful place. You know, when I come to places like this, it really makes you want to just break out in song, which might sound odd to some of you. But there's a hymn that I think even people who haven't, you know, spent years in church would be familiar with, and it simply says, "Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee, how great thou art, how great thou art." And when I see something like this, man, it makes me want to break into a song like that. And I don't know if you can see or not, and because there's a couple mountain ranges, and it's really hazy. But as far as you can see, at the tip of my finger out there, that's Shenandoah National Park. And folks, that's about 83, well, from here, it's probably about 100 miles. But Dad and I have walked from Keys Gap 83 miles south into Shenandoah. So that's kind of neat to see too. But this is the valley. Once you come over out of West Virginia, which is that direction in Virginia, this is the valley that leads down like into Frederick, Maryland. And boy, I traveled this a ton when I was a kid. So just a beautiful, beautiful hike today. So, so thankful to be out here. Boy, I hope you're blessed today. And just thankful for all of you. Glad you watch with us. I hope I don't bore your brains out by, by this stuff, but pretty neat to see today. Come down here, and this is crossing Interstate 70, which for everybody back home, this is the same Interstate 70 that runs there by Springfield. So this is way over in Maryland, between Frederick, Maryland and Hagerstown, Maryland. So the I70 Crossing. So pretty cool. And I'm thankful that they didn't put the rocks in the path here to make me feel right at home. Man, I've been fighting rocks all day. But the path's been pretty good. But I thought you'd like to see this. So, pretty neat crossing. I don't know what this is all about. I didn't bring a lot. Oh, it's a heart. Ain't that crazy? So I'm almost here to the crossing. And the trail goes on that way. And I'm gonna go to the parking lot. So anyway. Hey everybody, I told you earlier today that this was a really big Civil War area. And I passed a bunch of Civil War sites. I didn't film and take pictures of everything rather than bore you to death with it in case it's not something you're into, but I love the Civil War. One of my favorite, as I said earlier today, one of my favorite eras of American history. And I told you I wanted to share, maybe I share one of my favorite stories from the Civil War. Most people think the Civil War ended when Lee surrendered to Grant on April 9th, 1865. But actually, there was still a huge army in the South under the command of Joseph E. Johnston, General Johnston. And Sherman, William Tecumseh Sherman, had been fighting him clear across the South. And probably the war, I mean, many people would argue and say there were still some skirmishes in Texas, but really the large army of the South really surrendered on April 18th, 1865, when Joseph E. Johnston surrendered to William Tecumseh Sherman. And these two had been, rivals. I would say bitter rivals. They're trying to kill each other's men, clear across the South. I'm sure there was a mutual respect, but they were bitter rivals. And the war ends, and there's a lot of clemency that's given to those soldiers that served in the Confederacy, and they're not really, they're not charged with crimes or anything, and they go back to their lives. And it turns out that William Tecumseh Sherman, and Joseph E. Johnston ended up living, I believe, in Washington, D.C., and I think just blocks from each other, which is so odd when you think about these two generals that were fighting each other. And they ended up being in the same kind of social circle. And one night, I think they were in a restaurant and they ended up at the same table. And it turns out that Joseph Johnston and William Sherman actually liked each other. And they had a lot in common, if you can imagine. And their wives, interestingly, go on and became very, very, very good friends. Actually, their friendship, I think, lasted long beyond their husbands. Both died, I think, before them. And their friendship went on, and they started aid agencies, aid ministries together. But anyway, so Joseph Johnston and William Sherman become these good friends. And William Sherman dies first. And upon his request, upon his death, he requested that Joseph E. Johnston be the honorary pallbearer at his funeral. Now think about that. These terrible rivals. And they become these great friends. And I believe that Sherman's funeral was in New York City. And it was a really cold, rainy, I think, March day. I'm doing a lot of thinking here. I'm trying to remember this whole story. But Johnston was walking behind the hearse, a horse-drawn hearse that was carrying Sherman's body to the graveyard. And one of his aides said, General Johnston, you've got to put your hat on because of the rain and the cold. And Johnston said this. He said, if Sherman were in my place and I in his, he wouldn't put his hat on. And he refused to wear his hat in honor of his friend, who had been his rival. Joseph E. Johnston died 6 weeks later to the day from pneumonia that he developed walking in the rain in honor of his friend. I have found that I've got a lot more in common with most people than I have indifference. And you probably do too. I wish America would discover all this again. It's sad. I walk past all these sites where men died. Many of them died to save a union. And today our country's ripped apart. I don't know. If you've got somebody you've had a problem with, maybe you ought to give them a call today. You might have more in common than you have indifference. Anyhow, I think that's an inspiring story. I hope you're doing good. I may shoot a wrap up later. If not, this is a wrap up. Taking my sister to dinner. I'd like to just take a picture of her if she'll let me. She and my brother are camera shy, so we'll see whether or not they let me. So we had a great day today. Walked 12.5 miles in Maryland. Doing good.